hear PGA and LPGA legends, pros, top instructors, and media members from around the country sharing their stories, insights, and playing lessons every week right here on Next on the Tee. Take it away, Chris.
And now back in making his fifth appearance with me here on the French Lick Resort guest line is the CEO of the Ben Hogan Golf Equipment Company, Scott White. Let me remind you a little bit about Scott's background. He managed the Ben Hogan business back when it was with Spalding in the late 1990s. Spalding dissolved in the early 2000s, and the Hogan and Top Flight brands were bought out by Callaway, and Scott moved out to Carlsbad, California to handle their marketing efforts. 2007, he moved over to TaylorMade and ran their iron and wedge business for a few years, then transitioned to True Temper Sports, where he ran their sales and marketing efforts out on the West Coast through 2014. Scott returned to run the Ben Hogan brand back in early 2016, and he successfully navigated them through bankruptcy and helped bring them back, now, again, one of the most iconic brands in the history of the game of golf. And they are back out on tour. They are being played, their equipment being played by J.J. Henry and Mark Brooks. They've got a great line of irons that you hear me talk about every week here on Next on the Tee. And now they've got some exciting new news about a product line that they had just launched yesterday. We'll talk about that with Scott here in a moment, but I'm excited he is back with me again here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Scott, thanks for coming back on the show.
Hey, my pleasure, Chris. Good to be back with you.
So, Scott, big announcement yesterday for those who haven't seen it yet online or on social media. Talk about what it is.
Yeah, we just launched a line of forged putters yesterday. We had been talking about getting into new product categories for quite a while, and this is the first entry into something other than irons and wedges for us. And so we're really excited. It's a small product line. It's only 4 different models, but they're great putters, very traditional and Hogan-esque, for lack of a better term. And, all of 24, 36 hours into the launch, we're excited about the response that we've gotten. So far so good.
And Scott, talk about the 4 different models, because they are very classic looking, but all seem outstanding. Talk about which 4 you've got available.
Yeah, to cut to the chase, we've got 3 blades. We've got a traditional plumber's neck blade, and then a Dale style putter. And then lastly, a more thin blade with a flowing neck, is how it's been described to me a number of times, and then 1 mallet. So they're all black diamond metal finish, and for the time being, at least, all right-handed models. But, again, the big difference is, there's a lot of putters out there that look the same as these in many regards, but these are all forged. Unlike a lot of other premium putters that are out in the retail market space and on tour for that matter. These are forged, and so they have a very different feel, much more consistent, free from dead spots or hot spots on the face. They're CNC milled, and again, that iconic Ben Hogan logo on the back. So they're great looking in the bag, but they perform even better on the green.
And as you talk about them being forged, Scott, talk about what the difference is between forged steel and cast steel. You talk about no dead spots and no hot spots. Talk about how it's more evened out across the face.
Yeah. So, there's somebody much smarter than I can go into the details on this, but the vast majority of golf clubs, putters, irons, wedges on the market today are cast, investment cast, and I think we've talked about this in the past. It's a simple process, inexpensive process, and a quick process where you melt metal and you pour it into a mold, and a couple hours later you've got a golf club head. Forging is the old-fashioned way, and we think the better way to make golf clubs. It's a little bit more complicated. You heat up steel and you kind of pound it into place, and then there's a lot of finishing that goes on afterwards. And so these putters are forged like our irons and wedges. 1020 carbon steel. They we think that the big difference, and we've actually proven this out through a lot of testing we've done, is that forging doesn't change the molecular structure of steel. And so you get a much more consistent, true face, and, you'd be surprised. We've done a lot of measurements on cast clubs, cast putters in particular. And, even 2 millimeters, 3 millimeters away from different spots on the face, you get very different hardness readings. We use a Rockwell hardness tester. And, the difference in hardness is kind of astonishing. So, for the player like me and I'm sure a lot of your listeners that have hit putts and they, just think they're perfect, dead center, right distance, and they come up 3 inches short or they race by the hole by a few inches, some of that may not be the fault of the player. It could be just the difference in the hardness of the face. And, not everybody hits the putt in the center of the face. As a matter of fact, there's quite a bit of difference in distance from the center of the club head where people hit putts. And so if you've got a putter head that has just a little bit of hardness difference between one spot and another, it can really impact the putter pace and speed in a pretty dramatic way. We were really surprised and taken aback when we did all of our testing, both in a laboratory and then on the green itself.
And Scott, you mentioned that the face of the putter is CNC milled. Talk about what that means.
Yeah, that's really kind of a finishing step for us. It really provides perfect flatness. I mean, when you CNC mill something, especially in a straight line, it's a robotic process, and there is no deviation whatsoever from perfect flatness. So, again, for all of us, and even tour pros that hit the ball a little bit off center on a regular basis, it just provides much more consistency, and you're not going to have a putt go offline because of the face of the putt. It could go offline for a number of different reasons, obviously including the surface and the texture of the green, or the golf ball itself. But the face of the putter isn't something you're going to be able to blame.
Scott, I want to switch gears for a minute and talk about your equalizer wedges, which I absolutely love. Best wedges I've ever used. And I love the new black matte finishes that you have on them now. Talk about the equalizer wedge and what you guys have done, in that segment.
Yeah, so we introduced the equalizer wedge line back in, a little bit less than a year ago now. And, as you said, Chris, they're really great wedges for a lot of different players. They come in even number lofts from 48 degrees to 62 degrees. So we've got a wide variety of gap wedges and sand wedges, lob wedges, and pretty much for anything for anybody. We recently added the diamond black metal finish to those, the same finish that we're using on the putters. And, that was really due to demand. I mean, we had launched this line last year. Again, we're sort of taken aback by the success of it. And, people said, hey, we want something that doesn't glare as much. We want something that provides a little bit more contrast with the golf ball. And so we put the diamond black metal finish on it. And, again, it's been very well received. And, I think now we're selling almost 1-to-1 between the traditional nickel chrome finish and the new diamond black metal finish. But you're right, they perform great. Feel great, obviously, because they're forged. And, again, with the different loft options, people are not buying these in typically in single sticks. They're buying them in groups of 3 and, round out the short end of their bag with 3 wedges is what we're seeing more often than not.
And Scott, one of the great things, for those who haven't, joined us before when we've talked about the equalizer wedge, one of the great things that makes it such a wonderful performing wedge is the unique bounce, the V-sole design that you guys have. Talk about what that is for those who haven't heard it before.
Yeah, V-sole's been around for a while in different ways, shapes, and forms. We've modified the original design a number of times, but to simplify it, it's a kind of a unique geometry on the sole. It's a steep leading edge and a much softer trailing edge. And, that does a number of different things. First and foremost, it provides for, really good turf interaction. It's easy to get through anything from a, perfect lie in the middle of a fairway to, a pretty tough rough. And so, it's a great performing wedge in really almost any condition. The other thing it does is it provides you to lay open or close down the wedge very easily. Yeah, it's easy to manipulate the club head. Whereas if you don't have any bounce on the leading edge, it's very hard to turn the club, manipulate it, or do anything otherwise that would allow you to hit the kind of shot that that's required from 100 yards in. So it's again, VSOL's a trademark of the Ben Hogan Golf Equipment Company. Some other companies use similar type designs because the technology has been around for a while. But we think we've perfected it and have had a long history with it. So we're really really proud of it, and it's something that we use not only in our wedges but in our irons as well.
Scott, just a couple more before we let you go. And for those of us that have loved the Ben Hogan brand for many years, going all the way back to, from when I first started playing the game back in the 70s and 80s, you've got some great other things that people may not know about. And those are some great accessories that are available with the Ben Hogan logo on them. Talk about what people can find when they go online to benhogangolf.com.
Yeah, well, the biggest thing, Chris, is that we just do business differently than really any other major golf brand. We sell exclusively online, factory direct, workshop direct, whatever you want to call it. So, the only way to really see and feel and experience our golf equipment is by going to benhogangolf.com. And, once you get there, obviously you'll be able to learn about all of our irons and wedges and now putters as well. But we've got some programs that make it really easy for people to test and to try and to buy, golf clubs. We cut out the middleman. There's no retail markup, so our prices are extremely attractive when compared to, other golf equipment manufacturers that sell through traditional retail. But we've got a demo program, for $20, we'll send you out some clubs. You can try them for 2 weeks at your leisure on your golf course or at your range. We've got a trade-up program. Once you buy a set of new clubs, if you don't want to have your old set, kind of collecting dust in your front closet or your garage, send them into us and we'll give you, fair market value for them and help you defray the cost of the new clubs. There's financing. There's, as always, because we make every club by hand one at a time, there's, no charge for customization. Steel and graphite shafts are exactly the same price. You can change loft and lie and length and get the grip size that you want. So it's really a unique experience. It's taken a little bit of time for people to get used to that. But as more people become accustomed to buying stuff on Amazon or buying Tesla cars online or other, big ticket items, this is, really we think becoming the norm. And so it's something that I think everybody should at least take a look at before they go out and talk to a traditional retailer and buy golf clubs, what we think is kind of the old-fashioned way.
Scott, you've got some very cool Ben Hogan head covers that I've seen out on some of the social media posts, particularly out on Instagram, that I'm dying to get my hands on. But are you foreshadowing anything? What else might be coming down the pike?
Chris, I could tell you that, but then I'd probably have to kill you. There's some other things coming. I just urge you to keep an eye on us. And, like I said, we introduced the Equalizer black wedges a few weeks ago, just brought out the putters yesterday. And I would just tell you that we're not done. There's some other things coming that we're think are very worthy of Mr. Hogan's name, and we're really excited about. So I think your listeners will be excited about too.
I know I am, and I'm looking forward to hearing all about it. So, Scott, I can't thank you enough for coming back on the show and talking about the new line of putters. Hopefully we get the opportunity to hear what else is new and exciting on the horizon very soon. It's always great stuff. And like I say, I'm a huge Ben Hogan fan. I love the PTX irons. I also really enjoy the Edge irons, and now with the Equalizer wedges as well. So looking forward to getting my hands on a couple of the putters and checking those out too, because everything about the brand that you've done and you and your team have done has absolutely been outstanding. So I'm sure the putters are going to be equally as outstanding as well.
Great. Well, I appreciate that. And, let's make sure we stay close over the next few weeks. And I'm sure we'll have some other things to talk about.
There you go. Scott, thank you so much. Take care. All the best to you and your family. Looking forward to catching up with you again, like you just said, in a couple of weeks.
Great. Thanks again, Chris. Have a good night.
You do the same, Scott. Take care. That is Scott White. He is the CEO of the Ben Hogan Golf Equipment Company. And the putters, I'm telling you, folks, go online, benhogangolf.com, and check them out. They look absolutely outstanding. And like Scott said, you can customize them however you want, right? What length do you like? What lie do you like? What grip do you like for those putters as well? So, and if they've got something else coming out in a couple of weeks, boy, I can't wait to hear what that is. So looking forward to having Scott back on the show again real soon.